Okay, so nickel whip is a very interesting pressure. It's a simulated creeper pressure that we can use and kind of change the direction of the call. To make it simple, I'm going to make it just a call that we're going to use versus 3x1 spread formations and nub. Okay. Anytime number three is detached, because there aren't a lot of pressures that are pretty good versus this formation. A lot of people line up in 3x1 nub. So to make it easy on the rules, so we don't have to learn all of the rules and how to slant, I'm just going to make it versus one formation and out of one defense, so we can just get lined up and play ball. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of the overview of what they're trying to do with the Fangio system so you can kind of have an idea. Okay. But they have calls, okay, with the whole idea of Ringo and Lucky. So this is a 2x2 formation here. Okay. And then they also have another one down here. All right. Now, the tight ends on the same side, everything is the same, except they forget the Ringo and Lucky. I apologize. I mean the right and left call. Okay, so on this one up here, we have a right call where we have a linebacker blitzing through B gap, and we have a left call here where the linebacker is blitzing through the left B gap at the bottom. All right. Now the fronts always have to go away from that blitz, so that's how it's taught. All right. Now the last part here is the coverage behind it is cover three seam. Okay, because we're sending four, we're still dropping seven into coverage. So that's where the whole Lucky and Ringo comes from. So the coverage in this defense is really three seam, and we're trying to always get a weak rotation, but the pressure can come from either side. So in order to make it simple, okay, in order to make it so that we can learn one thing, we can line up and play ball, is we're going to use the 3x1 rule, okay? And let me just try to find a 3x1 picture. Here goes one right here. Both of these here, right here. I want to use this versus, and I'll explain it on the field, versus 3x1 nub. I like it against this formation where three receivers are spread out. I am not going to do it versus 3x1 normal formation, but you can if you want. All right. So the rule is this: it's cover three seam. So the linebacker to the side of the safety that's coming down, okay, he's going to blitz through B gap. The defensive edge player that's away from the safety that's coming down, okay, in this case, you see him as a hook player. Okay, you can keep that if you want to run it versus this formation, that's fine. But what I'm going to do here is run it versus this formation. I'm actually going to put him into a curl flat. All right, now it's going to be funky, but he's coming from so far, he's going to kind of almost only get to where number three is if he's running a seam route, and the seam flat player will stay wide. So they really won't run into each other because this defensive edge player is a little bit of a slower player, and he's coming from so far. Okay. But if you want to run it versus 3x1, I'm not going to show you video on that today. You can just make the adjustment and drop the edge player to the hook instead, okay? Instead of being the curl. So again, I'm going to come out in this formation. I'm going to versus 3x1 spread or versus 3x1 nub. We're going to come out in dime 2-3, okay? And dime 2-3 always puts the defense into a certain front. I'll talk about it on the field. We're going to have to just slant the line. The interior guys are going to slant away from the pressure. We're going to send the backer, and we're going to make the adjustment here with the defensive edge player. Now, the other reason why I'm using the dime 2-3 is that the dime 2-3 shows a too high shell. It's one of the only defenses you can call a cover three seam. That's the coverage that we're calling. And it actually stays in a too high shell only versus 3x1. If you did it versus 2x2, they will line up in a one high shell. So that's part of the reason why I try to make it easy for you guys. It'll make more sense on the field. We're going to look at it on the field versus 3x1 nub, which is a very popular formation. You're going to get that weak side pressure, and hopefully, maybe, so he might come through clean. He may not. But also, you're going to overload the coverage to the three receiver side, and we're going to get extra bodies to most likely where the ball is going. All right. And then our seam flat player on the backside, he doesn't shoot down right away. He kind of sits there at about 10 yards. So he gives good body presence on the backside as well. I think this would be a really nice coverage. I think you guys will like it. I'll see you on the Madden field. Okay, so we have nickel whip. First thing we're going to do is make sure we get the coverage part down. We're going to take the outside linebacker here. We're going to click to the right on the left stick twice. We're going to take that strong side edge player, just put him into either a vertical hook or a curl flat. I suggest a curl flat, to be honest with you. It's going to keep him around the numbers. The seam flat might bump into him a little bit, but the seam flat's going to react to a lot of other plays like shallows and out routes and things of that nature a lot better. Okay. Plus, this is a bigger defensive edge player who's going to kind of get there slow, but it's going to time up really nice. Then we're going to take our directional pad and we're going to click to the left twice, and that's going to bring up the defensive line adjustments. And we're going to slant them to the strong side of the formation. Okay. Strong side to the passing strength. All right. So, again, let's go through it one more time. We get the defensive edge player into a curl flap. Now we have the D line adjustments. Actually, you only have to click it once, my fault. And just slant to the left. You might have to do it twice because you know how the game is. All that does is really move these two guys, all right, to basically stunt cross to their gaps. It doesn't change this edge player. He's always going to be coming in the same angle, all right? Now, this guy here, he's just going to be your blitzer. This is your dime. We're going to just blitz him down, and he should hit the right gap, which is the B gap. So this is the four-man pass rush creeper look that we're working with. Now, who do you want to use there? I think you can use this player to make the effectiveness of this play the best. You'd hope that the ball doesn't go to number two on a streak route. If you get that, we might want to maybe play with the safety and just instead of running to the middle of the field, just play deep thirds from this spot, just go straight back. But I like to play with this player so that we can be effective in the run. And then also we can kind of maybe turn and run with number three. So we are a three receiver hook player. I'm going to make sure I get underneath this guy. Right now I know the route already. He's going to run like a little over route like that. I want to get into that window so that I take away that easy throw. All right, let's take a look at the replay real quick. This is all 3x1 nub. That's the great thing about this pressure and a lot of the plays in the Fangio system. 3x1 works versus 3x1 nub and 3x1 regular. So as you see, the only thing that could potentially be an issue is the seam route, but people are going to have to throw that on time. And if you have a good nickel, it's going to be really scary for people to know what's going on, okay? If you really want to try to take away the nickel, the seam, you could just lock this guy up and put him in man coverage, but that is a fourth step. All of my steps are 3 steps or less. That's my rule. I don't want to do anything that's more than that because I feel like somebody quick snapping you, you're not going to probably get it all in. And that's the reason why I go with this order of operation of coverage first. So at least we're going to be in good shape. If they snap the ball right now, it's just going to be cover three seam with an extra dropper. Okay. We got to get that D line adjustment in and then the pressure. Okay. And this pressure right here opens up pretty well. Right now, there's no back blocking. I'm going up against one of the best right guards in the game, but he won't always effectively block that linebacker. Okay. Sometimes it's going to be hit or miss. And I do believe if anybody's looking at the defensive pressure, it's going to be kind of scary. You know what I mean? It's gonna not make them probably want to. It's either gonna make them want to throw the ball real quick to the running back or look to the left. And we're dropping everybody to the left. Okay, it's almost like a Mabel coverage. Play around with this, guys. If you want to do something different, like hard flat this guy, right? Maybe vertical hook this guy. If you really want to do something like that, go for it. Whatever you think is best. I feel like honestly, this is it'd be a little bit of a bastardized way of thinking, but I mean, you can do whatever you want with the coverage as long as you just have guys doing something logical. Then maybe you don't have to do so much. Maybe I could just go straight back right now because of my adjustments I made, right? So the vertical hook player ran with two vertical there, right? And then my flat defender can hopefully take away what? The good old tight end drag route that everybody runs, right? And I'm sitting there on I'm playing routes right now. I get it. But at the same time, you got to do this a little bit, right? If you know somebody runs a combination, you might want to switch your coverage to make it work for you. Okay. All right. So this is the nickel whip part two. Just wanted to show it versus 3x1 nub.